Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Coast to Coast podcast. Kind of exciting. We're going to be breaking some news here in the last hour and then turning to some more attention in Jacksonville as Urban Meyer has got one of the most, probably one of the, I'd say one of the most popular lap dances in Twitter history. I think that would be fair to say. And then we'll turn our attention back to one of our favorite basketball players, Kyrie Irving. All right, enjoy the show. Thinks the earth is flat. So it never sat well with me.
Do you want a company that refuses to use your call box?
Or have to be patient. I don't understand why Chelsea gave him the pass so quickly.
You want to know who's the cheap shot spread? Christian Laettner. You want to know who everybody talks about? Christian Laettner. You want to know who's one of the best basketball players ever in college? Christian Laettner.
Man, popular news day. My phone started vibrating during that. I guess Ben Simmons just arrived in Philadelphia. So I'm curious what's going to happen there. But about an hour ago, Jon Gruden has, I believe, stepped down from the Las Vegas Raiders. And
Wow.
just to be clear, if you're listening to this, it's not just because of the first email that was revealed where he made what I would say is a pretty racist remark about DeMaurice Smith, the head of the NFL Players Union. And if you don't think it's racist, I'd encourage you to watch the video of Randy Moss's reaction to how he felt what Jon Gruden wrote, because it was a racist comment. I don't know how you get around that, but some more emails came out about some things Jon Gruden have said, and so now it's he called Roger Goodell probably the most popular slang term towards the gay community. I think that's the best way I can say it. It begins with F, and now everyone knows what it is. Said women shouldn't be refereeing in the NFL, and was highly critical of the Rams drafting, and this is Jon Gruden's words, queers. And then he was also equally critical of NFL's handling of player protests with the national anthem. And if you think he was on the players' side, guess again, he was not. So not surprisingly, Jon Gruden has stepped down. And what is shocking to me is how many people think Jon Gruden is being treated unfairly. And let's be clear, he's resigning. He has not been fired. He is choosing to do this. And I guess one of the biggest takes I've heard is, he shouldn't be on trial for things he wrote 10 years ago. Well, some of these emails were as early as 2018. And some people have said, everyone said, it's not like you didn't say anything stupid in high school. Well, Jon Gruden's not in high school when he wrote these emails. I would interpret these emails as part of his character. Like, this is who he is. Like, that's fair to say. Like, those emails represent his views about pretty important topics. And by the way, Jon Gruden also has the NFL's only openly gay player right now playing for him, or I guess was playing for him. And when you put together his comments about the national anthem and stuff, how do you expect that locker room, let alone that entire organization, because I'm sure the Las Vegas Raiders employ women, how are they going to, who would want to work for this guy? Donald Trump Jr.? That's probably like the only person I can think of.
I mean, there was that kicker that we were up in arms about, worried about the Patriots drafting. I bet that guy
sign him up.
White supremacist. They're on board. Any toxic white gamer that plays video games, they're like, yeah, I'm ready for this. I mean, being in the Call of Duty lobby, I'm sure whatever Jon Gruden said sounds very tame.
Call of Duty lobby.
It's terrible in there, man. Yeah, I actually, before the show dropped, I said, I heard there's like 12 emails. We've only heard a snippet from one. I don't even know what he called Goodell. And usually I'm all for people making fun of Goodell, but not at the expense of the LGBTQ community and homophobic hate speech. And I was shocked. So Greg actually and Eric told me that Gruden had resigned like minutes before we launched, which I'm shocked because he has still 4 or 5 years at $10 million a year basically on his contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. I'm glad he's not getting $40 to $50 million.
I don't know how people are defending this guy.
Here Can I voice the thing that I don't like about this? Before all this other stuff, before I didn't know he was saying homophobic things, before I didn't know he was saying sexist things, because he had this statement and he came out and said, "I don't have an ounce of racism in me." And is he going to say that about homophobia? Is he going to say that about sexism? You know, is he going to say the same things? And then Derek Carr, also a notably white quarterback, said, "I don't have a racist bone in my body, and I don't believe that coach does either. I really don't." And I think the problem is just like this, like turning to white people for commentary, turning to even us, like to John Gruden. And I wanted to read something in regards to microaggressions and what that is, and what that's classically defined as a brief and commonplace daily verbal, behavioral, or environmental indictments, whether intentional or unintentional, that communicate hostility, derogatory, or negative racial slights and insults toward people of color. Now, I want to take that further because Ibram X. Kendi, he's an author. He wrote How to Be an Anti-Racist, and he's written some other books as well. He says he doesn't use the term microaggressions anymore. He says, "I detest the post-racial platform that supported its sudden popularity. I detest its components, parts, micro and aggression. A persistent daily low hum of racist abuse is not minor. I use the term abuse because aggression is not as expecting a term. Abuse accurately describes the action and its effects on people, distress, anger, worry, depression, anxiety, pain, fatigue, and suicide. What other people call racial microaggressions, I call racist abuse. And I call the zero tolerance policies preventing and punishing these abusers what they are, anti-racist. Only racists shy away from the R word. Racism is steeped in denial." And that's what these comments from Derek Carr, from John Gruden say, is it's so steeped in denial that they can even say, "I don't have an ounce of racism in me." Because when you think like that, it leaves for shitty apologies because it assumes you have no work to do. When you take that stance, the problem with that is there's no need to do internal work. If you tell yourself that, the problem isn't you, it's how other people interpreted the message. And that's basically what John Gruden said. He didn't try to do any internal work of why he would use those insults, which are microaggressions or, micro racist abuse. He instead just said, "No, you interpreted it wrong. I'm not racist. There's nothing racist about me, even though I didn't stand with the protesters." Let's put that out there. And it's just wild. And I think so much, Greg, of what you're coming into is so many people have said less or have said worse. And they don't feel that they're racist because the way that they define racism is solely based on, well, I don't hate black people. I still have all these microaggressions, or again, as Emerex kind of like abuse, persistent daily abuse, that they don't want to be confronted with that mirror. They don't want to do internal work. And to say that John Gruden, what he did was racist, means that they have to look internally on themselves. And people don't want to do that. And this whole thing's disgusting.
It is, and it's because I know what's going to happen next. He's going to appear on some major network in probably 2 to 3 weeks. And you know what he's going to do? He's going to start denouncing cancel culture. He's going to rub it off on that. So first it's his apology, which was a non-existent apology. Like you said, it was, "Oh, I didn't mean it to be that way. It's just you interpreting it this way." And now that he's not getting away with it, it's going to be, "Oh no, it's cancel culture that did this to me. It's everyone doing things to him," when the fact of the matter is he said these things. He's in the wrong. And he's in the wrong on whatever, I don't know how many comments there is now. It's tons. It's, man, you went after the African-American community. You went after women. You went after the LGBTQ community. It's everyone except white males, basically. Like, it's not like, dude,
come at me, John Gruden. Come at me.
Yeah, you're the problem, John Gruden. And it's just so disgusting how many people are now turning around and be like, "Oh, we shouldn't be on trial for every little email we wrote." Okay, maybe we shouldn't, but man, this is his character. Like, he's a bad dude.
And character is also how we respond when we do things wrong, and how he apologizes, how we do things, how it shows no internal work, and character is doing that work, and he's done none of it.
But I think now his resignation shows he knows that he's lost the locker room, because let's be real anyway. Before today, before any of these stories leaked, do we see John Gruden as somebody that guys like to play for? I mean, even back when he was winning, like, with the Bucks, maybe the first stint with the Raiders, they really liked him, but that was kind of a different era, like that early 2000s. It was a different type of athlete. different type of mindset for guys. And you look at him now, and I feel like, can he be that ignorant? Emails that you sent 10 years ago, right? Or text messages that really like stirred the pot with a friend or not a friend. Like we all remember them. An ex-girlfriend, like you remember them. So is he that ignorant that when you watch him coach, he walks around like his chest is puffed out and my game plan's better than yours and my philosophy is better than yours? Do you think this translated into his life where he was like, all right, I sent this email, I got caught, but I'm not going to get caught for the other dozen emails that I sent that were homophobic or, sexist or whatever. Like, do you think that in 2021, Jon Gruden is that ignorant to say, no, I'm not going to get caught, and then get caught and be like, all right, I'm out? Because really,
I don't
the
even think he
NFL
was
couldn't
thinking about
fire
getting
him.
caught. I don't even think he was thinking about getting
that's
caught.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how ignorant is Jon Gruden? Like not thinking like, okay, I'm going to apologize for these and everything. And I was reading an article probably similar to you, Phil, that was like, okay, so he says he doesn't have a racist bone in his body. Do you not have a sexist bone in your body? Like, is that your next apology? Do you not, like, what bone scan test did you come back with? Literally like a quote that said that you don't have a racist bone in your body. Like he went
to Kyrie. Kyrie was
marketing director. This is what you say, social media, problem person at the Raiders. Like, dude, do you not understand what's going to come out? And if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, did this all come out because they're investigating the Washington Football Club's issues within them, within their organization?
It's amazing how he got tied up in this stuff. Like he wasn't a coach when he sent these emails. He was
He was an
emailing
analyst.
at the time. I think it was Bruce Allen, the Washington football team's owner.
Yep.
And I don't know why he was saying going off the deep end on
it's probably like they're treating you. Well,
remember, have you not seen that he said he was in a really dark place? So he was defending himself during his first apology, saying
that was going to come out.
He was saying I was in a really bad frame of mind. I was in a really bad time in my life. And I don't know. I don't follow Jon Gruden enough to know what was going on in his life at that. I don't know if he was getting divorced. I didn't know if he had a drinking problem. I have no idea what the bad things in your life are. TV. But John, you have written emails that are there. Like, welcome to technology. I know you run a bullshit offense in Oakland that doesn't work. But welcome to 2021. They're going to find out what you've done in the past. And you're so ignorant. And the worst part is Mike Tirico and Tony Dungy last night on Sunday Night Football during the lightning delay and everything for Kansas City.
I watched that.
They defended him in a sense. They didn't come out and say Jon Gruden isn't a racist, but they said in their working with him, because Mike Tirico was the other analyst for Monday Night Football with him and said, I'd never been treated that way. I never heard John. He never gave off that persona, and then to see Randy Moss and how heartbroken it
goes back to what Philip said. Just because you don't parade around on a white sheet, that doesn't mean that's not good enough.
Yeah.
That you just because you're
there's people in America that think racism is not a thing. I mean, a lot of people.
Yeah, and they're the ones that want Jon Gruden to keep his job.
Personally, for me, my son's mother is half African American. And my youngest son, Jackson, looks exactly like me. And my oldest, they're twins, but the oldest one of the two, Austin, has a darker complexion. And they don't look anything alike besides their blue eyes. So literally, if a stranger or even somebody in a school or a stranger sees them, they may not know that they're actual brothers, right? Came from the same exact bloodline, same exact mother, same exact father, and all the ancestors before us. Austin will go through things that Jackson won't, just based on he's a darker complexion kid in a white community in New Hampshire. And I'm not saying that I know racist people in New Hampshire and things like that, but there are racist people everywhere. So my son, so for me to look at this and listen to Mike Tirico and Tony Dungy last night, I have to think more thoroughly and say, but one of my sons could be treated one way because he looks this way, and my other son's going to be treated completely differently. And it doesn't matter that person like Jon Gruden or people are backing him. They can put on fronts, and that's still racism. Like you said, just because you're not parading around in white sheets, and it's almost worse because we can't detect them as well as you could back then, where you knew the bad people. Like now you have manipulation, you have so much more trolling on the internet that can happen, and you can hide and you can still hurt people just as much as you hurt people, especially emotionally. Obviously the physical things have gone away in a sense of like lynchings and things like that, but you still have violent attacks on minorities as well. And I know things swing both ways, but as a parent I'm going to go through something one day with my son, Austin, and it's going to be somebody like John Gruden that I probably know. And they might not know that my son, Austin and Jackson have African-American blood in them. And they might make a comment, and that's not going to be a great day.
Yeah, we as a society, we can't let these comments off the hook. Like, I don't know. It's just
let's go back to the thing that him and Derek Carr kind of went with. I don't have a racist bone in my body. Yes, you do. If you're white and you're born in America and this culture and society, like me, Greg, and Eric, we all do. And the piece is like, we need to be aware of it because it is so ingrained in our society as a whole. Like we talk about systemic racism, and part of it is about being aware of our biases, our unrecognized biases, and being like, okay, that's what that is. That's what that is. And when you know that can be in there just because of the culture and how we were raised and brought up in the society that we live in, it makes it to when you see apologies like that, when someone says like, no, it's like, no, you got to own it. And you got to be like, hey, this is why that was. You got to explain, be like, yeah, this is the frame of mindset it is. This is how I missed it. This is my ignorance. It's like someone being like, I don't have an ignorant bone in my body. I don't have a, like, yes, you do. Like, we can all be ignorant to things. Yeah, like we're not like
it's really
immune to that. We're not
really
immune to it. And we need to be aware of that. And that's part of it. And people that are like, no, you're not, or no, I'm not racist. And it's like, part of you is like deep down, like there's parts of us that are. And as much as like, and I can say that about myself and everyone's like, but it's like, I need to be aware of it. I need to be aware of the biases that I grew up in, the things I do that are intentionally harmful to others, with maybe how I vote, with maybe how I live, with maybe what I say or what I think about when I see certain people. And that's there. And like, it's not bad that it's not great, but like being aware of it and knowing to be like, okay, that's not right. And I got to readjust, and I got to be aware of that, because that is what happens. And when these things happen, you say comments like John Gruden did, and he might not intentionally meant it to be racist, but that's what it comes out. It comes out in how you talk and how you say and what you think about people.
He could have came back from that original email. Like there was
the first one. Again, if you go, that's where I was. This is why. This is how I've grown. This is why that was wrong. This is what I didn't think. This is like, but he didn't. He just said, I don't have one. And again, that keeps you from doing the internal work. And that's why I challenge anyone that doesn't think that, is to just be like, hey, no, there is a racist bone, and I need to be aware of that so I can do the internal work on myself and how I live my life. So I'm not writing emails like that. So I'm not writing text. So I'm not saying jokes. So I'm not laughing at certain humor. Because again, someone can make a joke and you could laugh and be like, hey, that was racist. Why are you laughing at that? And be like, oh, okay, so there is. So I think that's my take on that. And I would really encourage people to read How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. It's a wonderful book. And John Gruden, good riddance.
Good riddance. All right, moving on to another NFL coach. How happy is
Hell of a
Urban
week
Meyer
for coaches. Hell of a week for coaches.
Urban Meyer has to be the only person on that is like he's got to be ecstatic right now, because for at least one day the spotlight is not on him.
The big winners from John Gruden were the Raiders to get rid of him as a coach, for him to resign, and then Urban Meyer
and Mark Davis's financial bank account, because he's going to save a boatload of money in the process. But Urban Meyer, who his players are already openly disrespecting him, some of the anonymous comments that agents have been making, his players are calling him a con man behind his back. The team broke down a practice last week with grind, and that was after Urban Meyer was quoted as saying, "You got to enjoy the grind." Like, there's no respect for that man right now. And I guess I'm kind of shocked that an NFL coach got fired before Urban Meyer, because there's no way he finishes
Gruden didn't get fired. He resigned.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Hey, Urban Meyer is going to finish the season, and there are 12 million reasons why.
No, I'm going to end up right on this, because I think we did one of these 2 weeks ago.
Did it a couple weeks ago.
Urban Meyer won't finish the season. I don't think
I had him done after this season. Phil had him done during.
He's not going to finish October, guys.
He is 12.
No, he is not going to finish.
How long? He gets
even Trevor Lawrence doesn't like him. Trevor Lawrence is disagreeing with him in public now.
The only reason Urban Meyer will not, if he doesn't finish the season,
He's not finishing the season.
Because
He's
he
not
will
finishing the
he will
season.
finally say, like, USC will call him, because that's where I think he's going. I think he's going to USC. I just think that he'll finish it to make sure he gets all of his money. Listen, for those of you, like, because I watch college football more
Urban
than
Meyer
you guys.
said today he wants to average per game 250 passing yards and 250 rushing yards. The team that leads the NFL in rushing yards is averaging like 180 a game.
Listen, you have to understand Urban Meyer, okay? When he left Utah, he was an absolute stud in the early 2000s. He goes to Florida. He has Tebow. They win.
Sweet.
He goes and ends up essentially, I'm going to be honest with you, faking. I'm not going to say fake. He came up with an anxiety issue, can't get through, because I go through anxiety issues and everything. I know that's a big thing in America right now. I
know what you're
like
trying
that.
to say. Urban Meyer wanted a way to get out.
So he wanted
and get
out.
a new job.
So he gets into being an analyst, and then he goes to Ohio State. A year later, I think he took a year off, goes to Ohio State, builds it up, wins a national championship within his first couple of years, and then can't repeat it. Comes back and says, I want to spend time with my family. I want to do this. Goes to the announcer's booth, goes into the analyst way of life. And then Jacksonville calls and he's like, I think I'm the best, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And he gets into it. And now he's going to sabotage his career in Jacksonville and to go and get a better job, because let's face it,
he's trying to get fired.
When Urban Meyer leaves Jacksonville, he's going to either get another job or he's going to be an analyst for Saturday Football for Fox.
And let me say this. I agree
that
I agree.
I'm just going to keep saying
I just say this. I agree he should be fired. Let's not mix up what I'm saying.
No, I'm saying he's going to get fired. You guys are so wrong on this.
Maybe we are. I just don't think he has a multiple year contract. And I think Jacksonville.
So did John Gruden.
Yeah, he resigned, so he's not getting the money, right? He's not paying that. Like, if you're an owner in Jacksonville where no one really cares about football, again, I think, hey, conspiracy time. What if the Jacksonville owner...
There's a morals clause in his contract.
Hang on.
He's done.
What if Jacksonville hired that girl? What if they want him to resign and all of a sudden they're going to be tailing him? They're going to be like, fine. They're like, I wouldn't doubt if the Jacksonville guy is like trying to find as much dirt on him as he can so he can, he's like, oh, did Gruden retire and not have to pay all that money? Okay, I want this. Like, if I'm Jacksonville's owner, like, that's what I'm doing. I'm like, yeah, let's find all the dirt on this guy and let's get him to resign so I don't have to pay him probably a 5-year contract, $60 million.
Urban
so
Meyer
a serious question.
Today,
he
wants his team identity to average 500 yards.
He's a terrible coach.
Through the air.
He should be gone. He should have never been
I'm
hired.
going to explain how idiotic what he says. His team is averaging 120 yards on the ground right now. He wants that to double. They're averaging like 160 yards through the air. He wants 250. There's only been 33 games in the history of the NFL where a team has had 250 and 250. And he wants his 0-5 garbage Jacksonville Jaguars, which might as well be a AAA team in the NFL world, to average what basically has never been done before. This dude is trying to get fired. He's going to get fired.
So do you think you think he's trying to see? I just think Urban Meyer. I don't think Urban Meyer.
You think he's incompetent?
I think he's trying to get fired. I think the persona of Urban Meyer, I don't think he's as good of a guy. I don't think he's as bad of a guy as John Gruden, but I think it's the same line that he walks. He's got this persona because he's a big, one of the best college football coaches ever, so he can get away with a lot. Remember, he had a scam up in Ohio State with an abuse with one of his assistant coaches and the assistant coach's wife, and he knew about it, and he never reported it and stuff. It wasn't along the lines of like a Penn State deal, but like it was a physical abuse and everything from an assistant to his wife, and he never reported it, and that sort of pushed him out of Ohio State. That sort of started the push, and I just don't think he is as good of a guy. Like, do we think this is the first time Urban Meyer's ever gone out to a club and been grinded on by some whatever chick? Like, he coached at Florida, he coached at Ohio State. Like, these are schools that women and people from across the country go to, and he's a like better looking like older dude. Like, he's in shape. His three
pillars are faith, family, and accountability. He says those three things all the time.
This is something that Urban Meyer has more going on. Stop. He has
Three
more
Fs.
going
Fake
on.
family fraud.
He has more going on in his life than what is known right now to the public. Like, I'm guessing him and his wife are having a difficult time for whatever. I mean, like this just doesn't happen, right? Like, for no reason. Like, he is going through something in his life that is about to be a bad midlife crisis personally, like a bad midlife crisis.
Greg, I would have used probably a different F for the second one, but family works again twice. I just want to say, I mean, like, we have John Groot, 2 rich white males, being inappropriate with young women or saying racist, sexist, and homophobic things. Can we just stop buying stock in old white dudes? Can we just stop? I mean, outside of Mr. Rogers, it's a bad investment. Like, don't do it. Like, just don't. Urban Meyer tips 10%. So let's just stop.
He's a bad guy.
Let's just stop with like investing in white dudes. Like, seriously, like, it's just never good. Like, it doesn't pay out 9 times out of 10, or most. Mr. Rogers, God bless him. That's it.
Well, real quick, who are the most successful older white coaches in the NFL right now? Andy Reid, Bill Belichick.
I'm not buying any of their stock.
But like,
as a human being.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
John Harbaugh.
Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean? But like Mike Tomlin never had a losing record. African-American coach. Like, it's not the color of your skin. It's how good are you at your job? And until we get this through our heads in any sort of environment, any workplace environment, any team sport, professional setting, it is not the color of your skin. Just because there have been white coaches forever, and that white coach had a white staff in the 90s, and now they're all 50 and they've been coordinators for 12 years after they were the special teams coach or what, that doesn't mean that they're going to be Bill Parcells.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean they're going to be John Walsh.
We need to hire more people of color because it's a predominantly African-American league, and we're just hiring a bunch of white coaches. 100%. And
we keep recycling those coaches too. Like,
oh my gosh, how many chances did Adam Gase get?
And that was because Peyton Manning played for him for 2 years.
Yeah, and he just gets recycled everywhere, and we see everyone succeed as soon as they get away from Adam Gase.
It's like Jim Caldwell getting fired in Detroit. Jim Caldwell gets fired in Detroit, takes him to the playoffs, basically a fight. Ask Detroit fans right now, would they want to be Detroit Lions right now, or what they were in the mid 2000s, like a 500 team? I would throw as much money as they could to be an 8-8 team. They would throw or
he had that team on the brink of the playoffs. I feel like every year.
He went to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, like brink of like something bigger.
Speaking of underachieving coaches, Greg, is Belichick being exposed as a fraud?
Sure is. 100% is.
So
I missed last week, and I know we're 28 minutes in, so I'm gonna make this real quick. He's a coward. Nick Folk has not made a 56.
Man, he was on a no. He was on a.
He hasn't made one since 2017.
32 like field goals in a row.
Greg, he had a hurt leg. He had a hurt leg in weather, Greg.
No,
and he has not made one of that distance
till
2000. He was 3 for 8. He's been 3 for 8 from that distance.
Right call.
It's an awful decision, and no matter what's happening, you're giving Tom Brady the ball back with 58 seconds left, only needing a field goal.
That's a better argument. That is a better argument.
It's a coward way out.
It's a coward. There's nothing wrong with believing in Nick Folk. He's been on fire.
Hey, guess what?
Nick Folk has been on fire.
Coach to coach. It's not X's and O's. It's Jimmy's and Joe's. That's what makes you a good coach. If you have good players, everybody, you can make them better players, or you can make not good players pretty good players. But if you don't have good players, there's nothing you can do. So Bill Belichick had Tom Brady, and he had a bunch of men that wanted to win because of Tom Brady being there. Look at the Bucs, like 5 o'clock drinks at Tampa, and all of a sudden you win a Super Bowl because they were like, we want to play with this dude.
Brady's a good
and now
name.
Bill Belichick is barely beating the Texans, who people thought preseason the Jaguars were better than.
Yeah.
Does he? Is there any chance he turns this around?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because I was not expecting you.
Sure.
You said yes.
Watching that Texans game, because I've had like Belichick's back because I always respected the culture he built in New England, like the
Which Tom Brady helped
buy-in,
build.
well, I'm getting to that. The
Yeah,
buy-in
okay.
he got from his players at the professional level for so long with how hard he is on them was incredible. And I guess I never gave Tom Brady enough credit because he got the buy-in, I feel like only because the greatest quarterback of all time was also bought in. And I think I just think losing Tom Brady, it's not just the skill and the ability that we've lost. It's Tom Brady was such a huge part of the culture, and it
agree.
just doesn't feel like the same. I mean, even the Jets win, it wasn't like, I mean, yeah, we ended up winning by like a couple touchdowns,
So
but there
can
was
I
nothing
ask you?
inspiring about it. So
Can I
I
ask
don't
you
know.
something?
Yeah,
What's his son doing? Like, why is
man,
his son
that
on the
don't even
staff?
get me started. Can we fire Steve Belichick?
No,
Our
no,
defense
seriously, like
is,
it's embarrassing. Like
yeah,
I
that,
almost feel that way. And I know his daughter's a really successful field hockey coach
yeah.
in Massachusetts. So I know he has a very athletic family, but I don't know what his sons are. But you see Bill, the one thing that I will give Bill Belichick credit for is he has the same. I was kind of busted on you a couple weeks ago with his press conference and everything because I tune in just to listen to him. And I know he's the same no matter if they win or lose until it's probably the Super Bowl. You know, he's a little happier.
Yeah.
But you have his son on the sidelines who I don't believe was a professional football player. And
I
I
don't think he was a
don't know.
college football player. I'm pretty sure he was a
I've got
lacrosse
no
player.
idea,
Yeah.
you know, if he played lacrosse with Amendola and Edelman or what.
Chris Hogan.
But
He was playing with
when-
Chris Hogan. He was playing
Yeah,
lacrosse.
yeah. When he's on the sidelines making all these faces, it is completely opposite of Bill Belichick as you can get. Like, you're doing it to get attention on yourself. I don't care what you say. In a sense that he's making these faces, and because he's on every freaking meme on Twitter and Instagram, they show it on Get Up the next morning. Like you're a fraud too. You're a clown. And if you think you're winning the locker room over, that's what you have to do as a coach. You have to keep the locker room in your corner. And you have your son who's a nobody as one of the defensive coordinators. I don't know who the defensive coordinator is, but he's calling something.
They officially don't have a defensive coordinator. They haven't in a long time.
You know, I think the Patriots are done for a long time.
I'm
It's-
scared.
It
right
could
now.
be, and it's interesting because like Deion Branch, you know, he talked about. A lot of players have said similar statements that like the Patriots is like playing on varsity. All the other teams are like JV. He's like playing a lot of teams. It's like how they run and things like that. And I think Bill Belichick didn't know how good he had it with Tom and how much Tom contributed to that culture and that phase of how hard he works and how much perfection he demands. And I think the players bought into Tom just as much, probably more than Bill. And I think too, like for years we've heard, is it Bill? Is it Tom? Like, I think that got to his head. I think he reads and he hears that stuff and he's like, oh yeah, I don't need Tom. It's like, guess what?
You need Tom.
I don't want people to come like I do think Bill Belichick deserves some of the credit. Like I think part of who Tom Brady is now is a product of partially of his experience in New England. But I think
Absolutely.
That's
I
fair.
think it's pretty clear that one of the biggest factors of that culture was players are going to keep working harder through adversity if the best player keeps doing it.
And here's what I'm interested in seeing too. Like Belichick's going to lose his job in New England after maybe a couple more seasons, maybe sooner than we think. And then I want to see what he does with the next team when he has a fresh start where he's going into a new locker room and people are saying, and it's like, can he replicate it? Because all of the coaches that on his coaching tree that get jobs couldn't replicate it.
Yeah.
And they all were gone pretty soon. And I want to see what he can do in a new environment. And maybe that's what's best for him, just like it was kind of best for Tom. And we're going to find out.
This year is kind of like starting over, though. Like, I think he can't replicate it right now.
I'm not ready to call him quite a fraud, but I think there's questions, and I think it's no doubt, like when we talk about Brady or Belichick, who won that argument. And I want to see what he does when he probably leaves New England.
Well, I don't think he's a fraud. I think he's
I'm
a
more
really
open
good
to the
coach.
concept of it right now.
Yeah.
I will add one more thing. I'm not a big fan of the media still trying to like drive a wedge between Tom Brady and Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that either.
Tom Brady's not like that book that Seth Wickersham wrote. Like Seth Wickersham wrote hit jobs on the Patriots for the past decade. Like it just is what it is. If Tom Brady had a horrendous relationship with Bill Belichick and didn't have, at least if he had no appreciation for him and no respect, he would have said something by now. He's had ample opportunities. People from his team could have. He hasn't.
They wouldn't have hung out for half an hour after the game.
No. I mean, they went golfing together. They did a golf tournament together. Like it's just Bill Belichick. Media, a
It
lot
was
of
an amicable
reporters.
breakup.
Yeah, a lot of reporters don't like Bill Belichick because he does not treat reporters very well.
Yeah.
So people need to, if you're out there, take a grain of salt when people write these people hit jobs on him. It's not the truth. All right, last topic here. Kyrie Irving, Brooklyn. Kyrie Irving is not going to play in 41 home games right now because he refuses to get vaccinated. What if you're the Nets? What do you do right now?
Well, if you're the Nets, here's the first thing: you're still the favorite. Even if he misses half the games, it actually might work in their favor because it lowers the chance of Kyrie getting injured, which he does almost every single year. So this actually might work out in the Nets' favor because, one, they don't need Kyrie to win a championship. Durant and Harden can do that. But having Kyrie healthy and having Kyrie for half the games, like, they're going to be
the playoffs?
Fine. But again, they don't need Kyrie to win the playoffs. If they have him for half the games, they're going to be fine.
They won't be the 1 seed, so they'll have to travel more for games 1, 2, 5, and 7.
That's true. That's probably true. That's all coming together.
What about the backup point guard? Like, is he going to be just A-okay?
Well, who, James Harden? Backup point guard James Harden? Like, as he is, he's the point guard when Kyrie was there. When they're all playing, James Harden was the one handling the ball.
That's true. Okay, backup shooting guard, whatever. Like, how would you feel being the guy that, all right, I'm going to start every away game, but I'm not going to start the home game?
It'd feel pretty great. You're on that Nets roster and you get to start half the games? Yeah. That's going to help your next contract for sure.
So you don't think they have to trade him?
I don't think they have to. I think that, again, I still think they're the favorites with them. I think if they trade them, they're still the favorites.
Guys, we're missing the point.
Hey, and if Kevin Durant doesn't, here's the point. If Kevin Durant doesn't want him to get traded, he's not getting traded. And Kevin Durant doesn't want him to get traded.
Yeah, Kyrie Irving said he'd retire if he got traded.
He's ridiculous for the things that he stands for. Like, there's players that openly come out when he backs something, whether it's, prejudice comments that, like, people, the NBA is trying to move
or
past and
flat.
But like, he is not your spokesperson, and he speaks on it all. And I can only imagine, the players out there that are really coming up with really positive ways to change the culture of
Jaylen Brown,
like right? Like, and then you've got this guy, and then, like, it's hard because do I think you should be forced to get the vaccine? When you look at things and everything, it's like, oh, it's America, this and that. Guys, if you're paying somebody however many millions of dollars, isn't that something that is sort of like in your contract? You're supposed to play. Like, he's supposed to play.
He is forfeiting 1% of his salary for every game.
1%. Yeah. Well,
no, wait. I thought he loses the whole game bonus. Like, if he doesn't play, he doesn't get paid. It's like they're saying it could cost him like $360,000 a game that he misses.
I read that it was 1% of his salary for every game. It was negotiated, particularly to the vaccine.
If you're Steve Nash, how miserable are you?
Dude, this is like
drama. I mean, come on.
I feel bad for Steve Nash.
Yeah, seriously,
because if they succeed and it's because of the roster, they collapse, it's going to be blamed on him. And like, to go into that with the egos where Kyrie was thinking, oh, we don't even need a coach. Like, they didn't want to coach. He didn't want to coach.
Yeah.
I love, however, Jeff Van Gundy. Do you guys hear the comments that he said?
I have not.
No.
Just wonderful. So I'll read it to you. So Jeff Van Gundy was announcing. He says, just in general, you know what drives me crazy? I'm doing my own research. I would like someone to answer this question. What does that look like? You doing your own research? Are you doing studies yourself? Are you in a lab on a nightly basis? What are you doing? I don't understand what that means. I'm doing my own research. And then there's some more. And I was just like, yeah, that's perfect. Like,
it's well said.
Like,
but why? Like, why wouldn't he get it?
Is not research.
He's a 30-year-old. He's a 30-year-old healthy male. Like, they've done the CDC in the country. They, like, doctors, like scientists, they have done the science to say that we're okay. Like, guys, with the health history that I have had, if they did not think that, or if they thought, if the CDC and doctors and stuff thought that it was going to harm your body, I would not have been part of the second group of people in the country to get the vaccine in February of 2020.
Every living president and every like major pharmaceutical CEO and every like doctor like wouldn't be vaccinated. Like, when things don't work, they give it to the poor people first, not the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just another reason for Kyrie to be Kyrie. Who was the player that they said
he
Manny
likes,
being
he
Manny?
likes
Like,
being the odd man out. He loves playing that card.
He's a joke, and I
Kyrie's
hope
never
he's
heard a
forgotten.
conspiracy. He's not like buying stock in. He's like, yeah, I'll invest in that.
He thinks like it's thinking differently and it's cool, and it's just like, dude, like this is brutal, man. You're on $136 million contract. Like, you have millions of kids that look up to you, and just do the right thing, man. But no, he wants to be the devil's advocate guy, and it's like,
And
man,
he's good. Like, he could win championships, a lot of them with this Nets team and Kevin Durant. Like, what are you doing to your career?
Yeah.
That's
all I got on that topic. Love Jeff
all I
Van
got.
Gundy's comments. That's
Love
the best thing. Best thing.
Red Sox won in the bottom of the ninth. Not that anybody cares, because everybody hates baseball.
Was there a bat flip involved?
It was a sacrifice fly. He might have thrown something. There's helmets flying.
Ooh, there we go.
Helmets flying aren't as good. Doesn't cut it for us. We want bat flips. All right, that's our show this week. Thanks for listening. Just a reminder, we're on every major podcast platform: iTunes, Spotify. We're on there. Follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on TikTok as well. Keegan's got some pretty good videos on there as well. We're live Mondays, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock West Coast time. Thanks for listening.
Coast to Coast Podcast is hosted by Greg Gilmore. That's me, Phil Marino. The show is produced and roughly edited by yours truly. For feedback, you can always reach us via email at talkcoasttocoastpodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's talkcoasttocoastpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.